Chicago, 1984. The city was a war zone. Streets ruled by gangs, nights haunted by sirens, and fear that clung to the air like smoke. But in the middle of this chaos, one family didn't just want to survive. They wanted more. They wanted money, power, control. What started as whispers around a kitchen table turned into one of the most brutal and bizarre crimes the city had ever seen. And by the end of that night, one of them would vanish without a trace. If you've ever been fascinated and chilled by stories where greed spirals into something far darker, you're in for a ride. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because today we're going deep into the DeCousins family's bloody night at Chicago Kmart and the mystery that still keeps people up at night. Full narrative expansion, main script. In the fall of 1984, Chicago wasn't the shining, bustling hub tourists know today. Back then, the streets were a minefield. Gangs controlled whole neighborhoods. Violence was an everyday language. You could hear in the cracks of baseball bats, the snap of switchblades, and the endless gunfire echoing into the early morning hours. Cops? They weren't saviors. They were targets. Officers who tried to intervene didn't just risk injury. They risked never coming home. And that was the Chicago the DeCousins family called home. 3 people, a father in his late 40s. Tough, wiry, with a stare that could cut steel. A mother, sharp as glass, who knew how to get what she wanted without raising her voice. And a son in his early 20s, young, restless, and already following his parents' footsteps. They weren't struggling for survival. No, they were hungry for more. And they didn't care who they hurt to get it. It started with small talk over dinner. A conversation about easy money. Maybe a liquor store, maybe a pawn shop. But those ideas seemed too small for their ambition. Then one night, the father leaned in, eyes glinting under the kitchen light, and said, "Why think small when we can take it all?" He was talking about Kmart. Now, for anyone who didn't grow up in the 80s, Kmart was a place. You could buy anything, clothes, electronics, groceries, all under one roof. To most, it was a convenience. To the DeCousins, it was a gold mine. But there was a problem: firepower. Security in that part of Chicago wasn't a joke. The father's solution? Steal the weapons first. So they hit a small gun shop a mile away from their target. The break-in wasn't quiet. Glass shattered. Alarm bells screamed into the night. But the DeCousins didn't care. They had what they needed: 2 shotguns, a revolver, enough ammunition to make anyone think twice. They didn't put on masks. They didn't care about being recognized. In their minds, they were untouchable. The Heist, the Kmart parking lot, was mostly empty when they arrived. Then, without hesitation, the father floored the gas. The car roared forward, smashing straight through the front doors. Glass exploded in every direction. The store's fluorescent lights flickered, illuminating chaos. A woman, a mother of 4, was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She never even had the chance to scream. The impact took her life instantly. And here's the part that still baffles people to this day. Instead of grabbing jewelry or electronics, they ran for the produce section, shoving apples, oranges, and greens into bags as if their lives depended on it. Why? Some say they were feeding something, a creature hidden away in their home. Others whisper it was part of a ritual. Whatever the reason, they moved like people on a mission. With sirens closing in, they bolted back to the car. The tires screeched as they tore through the streets, weaving through red lights. Their goal? Get as far from Chicago as possible before the law caught up. But the city wasn't done with them. Just outside the limits, a police blockade waited. Squad cars formed a wall of flashing blue and red. The father slammed the brakes. The car skidded sideways. Without a word, they abandoned the vehicle and ran for the nearby train station. Here's where it gets strange. In the chaos, something went wrong. The father and mother made it onto one train, but their son? He stepped onto a completely different one. Maybe it was panic. Maybe it was planned. But from that moment on, he was gone. No one ever saw him again. Aftermath and haunting rumors. The parents were caught later that night, arrested without ceremony, charged with armed robbery, homicide, and a laundry list of other crimes. But the son? His face was on wanted posters for months. Leads dried up. Witnesses changed their stories. Eventually, the police stopped looking. Still, the story didn't die. Locals began whispering that you could hear voices in that same Kmart late at night. Shadows that moved when no one was there. Employees quit after feeling someone breathing over their shoulder, only to turn around and find the aisle empty. Some say the son never left, that he's trapped there, forever replaying that night in an endless loop. Climactic payoff 1 to 2 minutes. And here's the part that chills people the most. A few years ago, a new security guard took the night shift at that Kmart. Around 3 a.m., he swore he saw a young man standing in the produce section, face pale, clothes decades out of date, staring at a pile of oranges. When the guard called out, the man turned and vanished before his eyes. He quit the next day. Some crimes end in handcuffs, some in blood, but others just dissolve into the shadows, leaving nothing but whispers and unanswered questions. Whether the missing DeCousins member is alive or dead, one thing's certain. The choices they made that night never really let them go. Outro call to action. 15 to 25 seconds. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Do you think the son made it out, or is he still haunting that Kmart? And don't forget to subscribe, because we got plenty more stories where darkness meets the truth. If you want, I can also write this in a more Reddit, AITA-style personal perspective, so it feels like the missing son himself is telling the story, which would make it even more emotionally intense.